rockets, because I found you through Reddit. For everybody listening, Rob was one of the OGs. Rob was like first 30 episodes, like original, like when I would just go on Reddit and just find people in cool subreddits and be like, hey, will you do my podcast? And now we're up to 3,700 subscribers, and
wow, man,
400, and this is episode 415. So yeah, Rob, one of the originals. But because of that, unless anyone's watched it, how about you introduce yourself, my friend?
Sure. Before I do, I want to say you produce content so fast I cannot consume it as fast as you produce it. So I see like guests flash up, and you're like theoretical physics or blah blah blah, like all this stuff, and I'm like, for one, how is he finding people this fast? For two, how is he producing these that fast? But just more power to you, man.
Well, it's same way you do it with 3D printing and rockets, man. When you love it, you just, whether it's Arduinos or whether it's emailing guests, you just kind of get a little obsessed and a little manic about it. And you do it because you want to, and then you look in the rearview mirror and it's been a year, and you go, oh, we've made some progress, but you don't, I don't think about it
in the moment. It doesn't feel like that, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. If I were,
Yeah. So since you last talked to me, a lot has happened, man. Like it's been crazy. So when you last talked to me, I was working on SLS program, like as my real-time job, and then doing model rocketry for my channel on YouTube as a side thing, basically, and that's how you ended up finding me. So between then and now, like shit ton. So I was with the program for SLS Orion on the ground systems. So we did operations development and developed the procedures, the work plans, the support equipment to work on the rocket, get it ready to fly, and basically put people back around the moon. So that program is still going, but I got an offer at like out of the blue, and telling this story, I always joke that I didn't think it was real. I thought it was a scam until I actually got hired and showed up, basically. So I was applying on the side while I was working at my old job because
everyone
I wanted a promotion,
and
it like kept seeming like it wasn't quite going to happen, and things step along, and you're like, well, maybe I'll start poking around and see what we can do. So I update all my stuff on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden, and I get an email from something that's like external, blah blah blah, and I don't know who it is, and it's like, hey, my name is whatever, I'd like to set up an interview for this company, but his email wasn't that company, and his title and his signature and all that was like a different company. So I was like, this doesn't seem quite right here. So
NASA counterintelligence.
Yeah, well, it's like where is this guy from?
Yeah.
And he seemed very upfront to talk to me and all. He had a phone interview with me, and I talked to him. I talked to him about my stuff. I sent him a resume, and even after the phone interview, like the initial one, I was like, this guy is like, I don't know what this company is, and I like look it up, and it's like it's a generic talent acquisition company.
Headhunters, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I guess maybe it's real, but like this is a big enough headhunter company to be like, is it really real,
Yeah.
So I was really like, he hasn't asked for my social security number, he hasn't asked for this yet, so it should be fine. And then I got the first actual interview with the people I would work with. So all of a sudden, and that was Sierra Nevada Corp. If you haven't heard of them, they're SNC. They also, there's also, because a lot of people have heard of the beer company, but it's like a meme within the company, and I'd have to get up, but I have a lanyard and it says "not the beer company."
I've heard of it.
Yeah, they were hiring through this side company, and I interviewed with them, and like the interview, like like Zoom meeting came with like SNC / blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, I guess it is real. And then I get out of the interview and everything, and it seems fine. And I ended up like getting picked up in September of last year. So I was like, it finally happened, and it was for the role that I was supposed to be promoted to in my old job, and it just kept like sliding along.
Fuck yeah, man!
And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get some, man. We're gonna do this.
Congratulations, man. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. So by then too, I had been working from home since March.
Yeah.
So like I was working from home, my girlfriend working from home together. We're just at the kitchen table every day, from March on, and then all of a sudden November, this like virtual thing comes along. And like her brother was going to come and stay, and he ended up staying the entire year basically because he couldn't go back home due to like flights being canceled, and the price like went like this at one point, and then it dropped again. So he stayed with us like half a year. So great experience to be able to like hang out with him, where normally it would be like 2 weeks in a holiday. So, and he was like all three of us the whole time were like, is this a real job?
Is this a real thing?
And they said like, then the laptop came in the mail and everything, and I was like, okay, it's real. It's real. We're actually doing this. And then they ask for your social security and bank information, and then you're like, okay, and you give it to them.
Yeah.
End of the story. I was scammed out of my entire.
End of the story. Tommy, can you Venmo me some cash? Because I am fucking broke.
I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
No.
Yeah, the green screen falls behind you. You're actually at a bus station. You're like, I need a Band-Aid.
There's like a few hooded figures behind me.
You're like, dude, I need a multivitamin and some socks, please. I'm like, Rob, this is embarrassing. Please don't do this.
Tommy, I need
Tommy,
the YouTube
please,
money.
please, dude. That's sorry. Did you freak out when you finally realized it was like real?
Well, I mean, I had enough time
moderately
to move into it, but when the actual offer came through, I did kind of freak out. It was like I had like a doctor's appointment, so he called, and I like kind of step into the area and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'd love that. Okay.
Fuck yeah.
And like he's like, yeah, we should have an offer coming through. And then like a few days later at home, it had taken a little while, and I called him back, and he was like, oh no, you should hear something later this week. And he calls and lays it down. I'm like, it's happening. And it was like,
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
Dude,
and that was like 2 years of searching almost, like of just sending out occasional things, and eventually like it just came for me, and I was like, I am overjoyed for this. So that was September, and then shortly thereafter that my girlfriend, who works at Universal Studios out here in Florida, in Orlando, she her company, exact opposite trajectory, tourism nosedives.
Yeah.
Theme parks closed down. So she, until like a week from now, basically, has been in China working on Universal Beijing, and has been there for like over 5.5 months.
Jeez.
So it's been a very interesting year with that.
Dude,
yeah. So I basically got the job, and then she left.
That's insane, man. That's like last summer, I was working at a liquor store and going crazy, just stocking liquor shelves and then doing a podcast in the evening. And I was like, I'm going crazy. I'm 30 years old and I'm IDing 21-year-olds. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? So I put up a video, and this was like episode 150. And I was like, hey, in college, I was like, it's like a 5-minute video. I was like, in college, I was like, I worked at a bar, and I studied all the time, and I got like good grades. And then I decided to just go all in, and I quit my job at the bar, and I took out a student loan, and I studied around the clock, and I did that for 4 years, and I got into medical school. Basically, if I have the money and I can put in the time, I can produce results. If anybody's listening to this podcast, if anyone wants to just like sponsor my podcast, give me some money to move into an apartment. I'll get a 1-bedroom apartment, and I'll do podcasts every day. And then I'll just like split the revenue with you, and I held up like my med school acceptance like a month later, sometime in about September, which is weird. That's the same for you.
Yeah.
I got an email from someone and was like, dude, like, I fucking love your podcast. Like, turns out that this individual lives in the same kind of general area as me. And they're like, and we were talking, they're like, dude, that's great. And they're like, how come your podcast isn't bigger? And I was like, well, I keep Excel spreadsheets of all the analytics. I was like, this is it. And he was like, your growth rate's crazy. Have you ever thought of investors? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I have. But like you, I was like, who is this motherfucker that just reached out to me? Fast forward 6 months, I'm good friends with this guy. He's got some extra money, and he likes doing kind of, I guess, obscure investments as opposed to just playing the stock market. And he was just like, yeah, fuck it, I like it. And so I gave him a price, like a very reasonable, like median salary price. And I was like, give me 3 years. I'll keep 51%. Whatever happens, maybe I become Joe Rogan, maybe I don't, and you're out some cash. And we're banging it out, but I'm moving out next Saturday into an apartment.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
That's good news.
I've been at home for 5 years. I've been living with my parents for 5 years. So, like, just like you, in September, in the worst year ever, 2020, this, like, in the middle of the desert, this, like, flower came up. And I, like you, I was like, who is this motherfucker? And I was very hesitant, but it's banging all out. Like, it, contracts.
Hey, that's pretty good, man.
Dude, and like you, at first I was like, my parents are getting excited. I was like, yeah, I'm a little hesitant. And then it hit me, like, the day I could quit my job at the liquor store, I, like, drove home, and it just, like, hit me in the middle of the car ride. And I was like, fuck yeah! I was, like, honking my horn. I was like, let's go! So, yeah, man, I feel like I can kind of relate with you. It's absurd, and I never in a million years would have guessed it.
It's like you kind of consign yourself for a while to, like, this is kind of how it is right now, and then, like, something kind of changes things, and you're like,
just pops out.
Did it really? You're like, yeah. Did it really change things? Is this actually happening? Right. And then, like, as it sets in, you're like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
And then you start freaking out. For me, I started getting nervous. I was like, what if I fuck it up? I was like, don't fuck it up. Yeah. Don't fuck it up. So that's what leads me to putting out so much content is I'm just like, don't fuck it up. Work harder. I'd rather work harder than less. But.
Well, like, with that, too, like, the algorithm loves it. So, again, growth potential. And then, like, just wait, until you're reading about honey and how it can save you, X% per thing on.
Dude, I hope it just keeps going and going. Like, I'm selling my merch right now with designs that I make. I've taught myself graphic design, and I'm just kind of jumping from guest to guest, and just emails. You just type in a person. People ask, how do you get this guest? You type in their name and then contact information. I've come up with Tommy's Law. The easier it is to get someone's email, the harder it is to get them on the podcast. And inversely true. If you find some, surfboarder man 75 at netscape.net, and you could, you're right, and somehow I can link that to, like, some researcher, that's when I know I got him, because no one else has that email. But man.
Once you have it, you're in.
Once you have it. Oh, yeah, and a lot of them are always like, how'd you get this email? And I'm like, I was just fucking... And, like, if you're a fan of them, you're like, dude, I've read your books, like, 5 times, like, blah, blah. A lot of them are flattered, and they're like, fuck yeah, man, I'll come on your podcast. And I'm like, I can't guarantee that you're going to get, like, 1 million book sales, but where are you now with everything else? Like, your own model rockets and designing and 3D printing and...
So I've been hit with several issues on these guys. So this is the same one that you would have seen previously, but rebuilt, like, from scratch again. It's a lot of the same parts, but a lot more testing and stuff. So I've been trying to fly them more frequently, but a lot of it lately has been on the software side. So you got these controller boards inside them. This is, like, the last one that I came up with as a revision. It's kind of simple, even though it doesn't look it. It's just using, like, a bunch of off-the-shelf parts. They're called through-hole parts, so they have all these holes on the back, and everything just drops in. But this is big. like you compare it to the tube.
Yeah.
It's basically something like that inside here. And then we got screws and stuff. But this, airframe and everything has flown like 4 or 5 times now, basically. And I was getting ready to fly last Thursday. Plug it in, all of a sudden something doesn't work. I've had a few bouts of that where, the whole board all of a sudden is trashed, where there's like a stray current or a connector flops down inside the body. It has an open like contact, and you do one of these numbers basically without realizing it, just by picking it up and putting it together or whatever. So I've had a couple that just died. So I haven't flown too much. I moved in the end of the year, and then all the China trip stuff, getting that all ready. So the end of last year and the early beginning of this year, not too much going on. Right before that, though, I did have like an altitude record basically for myself. So I put everything together. I was like, I'm super confident in it. I got like black box inside there. It's recording the data and all. It puts it on one of those. I don't have a loose one here because it's inside there, but SD card goes inside there, and you get a nice log of things. Previously, I was doing it like way dead simple, which made it a little harder because you can't see what's going on inside there, and the black box or data recording and all helps. So I've been trying to get that going. Then like earlier this year, I got it all basically ready to fly, and I looked at it and I was like, it's not where I want it. And I did like a huge software revision. So that part of things is like all under the hood, and people don't see that as much, but it's probably where like 90% of the work comes in. Like tube is one thing, data recording and making it run faster, because like you can make a lot of decisions, and you can make it work, and then you can make it work like a little bit better. So like, let's say I can spend another 3 hours and I can make the whole thing work 10% better.
Yeah. Diminishing returns.
Yeah. So I started doing that though, and I started getting it better and better. And then eventually I kind of reached this point, and I gotta grab a couple things behind the camera here, but where I wanted to go from this to this. Okay. So this is the next iteration of this board.
All right. So it's smaller, more compact, more.
And that looks like this basically.
Okay.
So this is a different assembly method. So it's called surface mount, and it has like a bodged wire across it, because just trying to make it the first one work sometimes is a challenge, because you make it in the computer, you sketch out where all these connections go, and like when this one got built, and this is another copy of the same one, the computer doesn't always know if you pass by something that will short it out. So like this batch, they're all useless. I had to actually, I don't know if the camera will pick it up there, but there's like a little hole that I drilled in the board to remove a short.
Yeah. For everybody,
so that short,
for everybody listening, you make your own chips, right? Or you design them.
Yeah. So
you do everything.
This is like
everything.
my first take, basically. This is like, I just started using circuit design software, and this is like, this is the latter half of last year. Yeah. So like, during those like final 3 or 4 months basically of the year, I started producing these. And to produce these, you need like all this other shit. So you need like it's called a hot air gun. So like when I started this, I was like, I'm going to just do it simple. I'm going to make it fine, as off the shelf as I can, as plug and play. Going to make it all happen. It'll be real easy. But the more you go, the more you're like, a little crazy. It's that 10% better thing. Yeah, like, I can expend $200 and I can get a 10% better board, because now I have a microscope that I can look at the board and see if all my connections are good.
Dude, it's like, I get it entirely, man. bumping up the webcam, getting some lights, getting some sound absorbing panels, getting a microphone, getting a condenser. You just maybe a little more, but that's how you have to do it, because all of a sudden you look back and you go, oh wow, this is a lot better than it was. You look at a year ago.
Yeah, I put up with that.
Yeah, you go back to a year ago and you look at it, you go, oh Jesus, this was like crackhead shit. Like, what am I doing? But that's what I like about yours is, I mean, you really are. This is some like biblical Genesis stuff. Like, it's not like you buy. Like, I remember this the first time talking to you. You were going in and explaining like Arduinos and coding and stuff. You were like, in the beginning, there was nothing. Let there be light. Like, Rob literally builds from the ground up. It's designing, coding. You truly build your own shit.
Well, like the other guy who does this, Joe from BPS Space.
I've watched.
He's like. Same deal. And like if I'm not like working as hard on stuff and I see like him do something, and it's usually like a reminder of like, man,
work harder.
I just got to stay at it. I got it. Like even if things aren't going well, record it. Yeah. Because that's content and stuff. And like the last video I ended up like putting up and producing, I was like, I've done all this stuff. I have like little snips of video, like, and when you assemble it all, it makes for a good story. Even though it may not show like success or something. And all the previous video, like one of the previous videos before my like the flight I had, like in I think it was November or October, where I set an altitude record for myself.
Yeah, I was going to ask what was it?
It's about 110 meters, which if I'm going to remember in freedom units is like 330, 320, something like that. So it's decently high.
Absolutely.
Especially for like these are heavy. This is not your normal model rocket. Because it's got all the electronics that wiggle the engine to keep it on target and have a nice trajectory. So it's a lot of weight to throw up.
Yeah.
So like that's pretty respectable. With that though, I was like right before that, I just had like string of failures after failure after failure, like all the year. And my brother-in-law, I guess you can call them that, my girlfriend, soon to be fiance, when she returns and all, which she knows. So
okay, I was about to say, dude, we got to cut that out. Okay.
No, she knows that's going to happen. Partially, it was like, don't even bother. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this in a happier time when all this is resolved after. So
okay, good. So brother-in-law.
Yeah. So he's very about the rockets. Like he's like, I love it. Yeah. So while he was here, because he was here for like half a year, he was like, yeah, we got to do a launch, and I was like, I almost have one ready to go. Immediate face plant into the ground.
Fuck.
Like, damn it, fix everything, fly again. Same deal. Slightly different, same deal. And I was like, man, I just don't get it. And like, it was a string of those, maybe like 4 or 5, where it was just over and over again. Problem. And then towards the end of him being there, I had like this sidebar conversation with a few people, and we like exploding brain, expanding brain, had this moment where we realized this is the problem. This is why it keeps happening. And it was that data recording, and we were looking at it, and it was so simple, but like it's so crucial to making it work. And I had the acceleration of the rocket defined backwards. And it seems like that, oh yeah, of course. But like, so when you have something accelerating, and the way the software works is it's inert, so it doesn't blow up the parachute in my face. Like if I'm going to load the parachute or disarm the rocket while it's on, let's say, and it has not left the ground, then it can't arm any of those pyrotechnics and stuff. I also have these new safety pull pins that pull out and everything, and they're just like, furniture dowel rod and everything. So like a lot of quality of life things on it that just make it a little better. But like the acceleration, if you were going to say like it's going up, okay, that's positive.
Yeah.
But it's experienced backwards.
Okay.
So the sensor detects it as a negative.
Okay.
So when you have the software written as if the acceleration is over 0 or positive all of a sudden, then do all the rocket things.
Yeah.
Then you'll never get there because you're accelerating and you're feeling it backwards. And like the video I made where I was like manic about this all of a sudden because I was like, I get it. I understand why. And I started like assembling clips and everything. I was like, we're gonna make this video, and then I delayed it and everything, and I was like, we're gonna fly it before I make the finished video. And I came up with the software update and everything. I was like, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna use one of the more expensive rocket motors that'll go higher, and it'll put things a little more to the test, and we're gonna do this, you know, with this new understanding, basically this nirvana we've reached. And it worked, and that's the altitude record that I've had for myself to date, basically. And the way I describe it in the video, and like once you like think about it, you realize that like, oh, of course that makes sense. But like the sensor, because it feels everything as a negative to the direction it's going, but when you're in like a race car and you get slammed back in your seat, you feel it negative to the direction you're going. Yeah. So it's like, that's the analogy I used. And I had like a few short clips of like people in you know, sports car accelerating, and it's like that makes sense, but like
it's like when you're in a car and it turns and it feels like you're going against the door, and it's like it's the perception. No.
So it's the same. So I had like this flawed perception, and I had built the last revision of software on it, and like as of late I've been like, we're gonna test the living hell out of this stuff before I even try. So I have like this little test rig over here. I think it's in frame. It's like swivel, and the rocket goes in the swivel, and you can test the controls on it and everything before flying.
Okay.
So it's all clamped down, and then there's like instead of a rocket motor, there's like a electric propeller in it. And that I feel is my biggest contribution to the community of people building these, because previously there were not as many. Now there's a lot.
Fuck yeah.
But my big contribution, I feel like, has been the propeller on one of these as a way to test it, because like I preach that now. I'm like, if you're not using that, it's a great way to not catch a problem that would have been really easy to catch before you fly it. Because if you put it on there and you spin it up and you turn the whole thing on and you just poke it and it doesn't come back to center, like, because you can see it like controlling itself, and you don't see it control itself back to center, or it does it and it's like a little slow or something, or you're a little off. It's just, you know, it's that 10% better that you can make sure, but in this case it's confidence. So I've been trying to do a lot of things to buy down that confidence of like, I can make the hardware, you know, lighter and stuff, or have recording and all, because like this entire board basically is condensed onto this.
Sure.
And I mean, it's so much smaller.
I mean,
but it's way more capable.
It's, I was gonna say, using the propeller, I mean, that's, loosely analogous to like building simulations for like the SR-71 or the F-117. Like, don't go crash the $1 billion plane. Let's work out all the fucking kinks on the ground, right? I mean, relative, not really, kind of. But I don't know. It's, again, or even just like a B-2 Spirit on the runway. I mean, a $2 billion plane. I mean, even those, what do? You check the flaps, make sure the flaps move. Like, let's not figure that out. Let's not figure that out 4 miles up. It's
exactly. It's just like, and I think my like job kind of helped with that too, where it's like we used a phrase as buy down risk. So what can I do to buy down the risk or the problem here, basically? So like risk in like our operations environment is anything that can slow us down, break something, or cost us money. So like time is a resource. So if there's a risk to it, then that's counted too. So like I've been trying to take that same thing, and it's like smaller board, you can surface mount everything, and the old boards mount like this. The new boards mount like this because your acceleration is mostly up and down. Your side loads are not as high, so it's not being shook to the side like this, really. And if it crashes and it slams into the ground, it usually goes nose first. So, again, it's all loaded in the way that's strongest. Mm-hmm. But with this, you know, you got, like, I eventually, like, you see a lot of other people make either the same design, same problems with them too, you know, so everyone runs into these walls, and you kind of like with a community of like people all working on the same thing, like with Arduino or 3D printers, everyone kind of like feels out this area, and you build up this like bubble of knowledge.
You're mapping out this like field of right. I mean, like really like early rocket programs, almost like hypersonics. Exactly.
Like how do we do this? And then somebody's like, I got a new way to do this.
And you're all pooling you guys are all tentacles to the same, like, I guess, analogous, like the same, like, octopus. You're all feeling out these little things, and it's like, yo, Rob figured out electric propellers, and it's like, okay, fuck, all right, yeah,
now I'm gonna do that, and that became like a thing. And then like with Joe on his, like, he was kind of like the trailblazer, so he put all this stuff out, and people began like tweaking a lot of the things he did. Mm-hmm. So like his like method for doing the legs on these is basically like the gold standard, because he found a way to do it, and it's great. And then he also he came up with the whole like board mounting scheme, where it's like vertical and you have a shape like this, and it works great. And then like that like kind of defined how people have been thinking about things, and it gets pursued, and it's really cool to kind of see the community develop, because like I've seen a few people like high school level where they built these, and they've posted on like his Discord or like on YouTube under their own like flight video and stuff, and showing it fly. And it's just awesome to see like stuff like that more common now, because like when I last talked to you, it really wasn't. And with that, you know, everyone builds up their knowledge base and stuff and shares a lot of stuff. It's been a big help to me too, because I can run that by other people or like industry people who are like better at electronics and stuff. And that's how basically I've ended up with this guy, which this is the whole thing now. That's the
mounted chip.
Well, and more parts. So it's expandable.
Okay.
And it has live data out, and you can talk to it while it's like inside the rocket. You don't have to like plug it in necessarily. And it's all modular, so you know, you just stack it together. And if I want to add more, you know, outputs, I can add more boards on the bottom for that. And that I think personally this is going to be like the new thing. But I'm like, electronics and software are my two worst things. Like I can do mechanical stuff all day, operation stuff all day, but like they're the worst, and that's like what most of the project is. So I still have a lot to learn there. And like just doing this first one earlier this year, oh my God.
If I can ask like a philosophical question, do you look at it as like for instance, video games? When I play video games, I play video games unlike anybody I know. I normally mute them. I'll like listen to an audiobook. I turn off tutorials. I skip all cutscenes, and I don't find like video game walkthroughs. I just like discovering it in my own way, just through trial and error, like a Roomba, like an AI just bumping into shit, and I'm happy. That's it tickles me to play games like that. I don't know why. For you building these rockets and that whole community, do you look at it as like, you know, we're trying to get to space, and once we get to that, it'll be finished? Or to you, is it just like the daily, just tweaking it here, tweaking it there? Is it, I mean, it sounds so cheesy, but is it like the pursuit? Is that where like the joy lies in it? Like you always want to get to, like, I want to get to the biggest podcast in the world. I want to have 100 million subscribers.
Yeah.
But if I get there, I'll one day look back and I'll romanticize like the journey.
Well, like with Joe, for instance, his goal was to go and build a rocket that could fly up and then land using a separate engine.
He wanted to, I thought, and did he want to get to the Kármán line?
Yeah, that's his new thing.
Okay.
Now. So because he did that, he was like, that's been my goal. What's next? And he's like, so I'm gonna set another lofty goal and see if I get there. Basically, for me, I'm like, I'm trying to get to like build something multi-stage that goes up, comes back, all the parts. It functions like a real rocket, basically. But it's not necessarily. I don't know. I find I always like the journey a lot. So I took a hiatus from rockets mid last year, basically. I worked really hard again to get the stuff flying for brother-in-law. We flew a couple. I got kind of annoyed with it. I fixed it up to 95% ready to fly, and then I basically stopped. And I was like, I'm going to do something different for a little while.
Burnout?
A little. I wouldn't. It was kind of burnout. It was like, I failed a lot. I don't fully understand the failing. I can fix it and I can fly again and I can fail again. But is that really helping me? Am I hurting myself by doing it? And it was a little burnout, a little this isn't working right now. Maybe I need to step out of this and try something different. So I'm going to stand up, move out of frame, and get what became of that.
Okay.
And that's this guy right here.
Oh,
so
fuck. So for everybody listening, Rob is now showing me a looks like a custom built submarine.
Yeah. So I have always
fucking Da Vinci.
And the name, if you're
I'm James Cameron.
Yes, and for a short period it played that.
I mean, it's played the South Park song.
Yeah, no, it had I had to remove it because it was too damn annoying.
No budget.
It was one of the last upgrades I put in it, and I was like, nope.
James Cameron, explorer of the sea.
It would do that on repeat.
That's just like the no budget too steep, no sea too deep. Who's that? It's him, James Cameron.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome, man.
So I when I was pretty young, maybe 10 to 12, I was like, man, I want a radio controlled submarine. That would be so cool, because I got really, really interested in deep sea exploration, submarines, and that was a period where I was like, my career path is going to be a marine biologist, and I'm going to go down in a big submarine, and I'm going to go look at
the
cool organisms. Yeah. And then steadily I was like, how many people get to do that? So I was like, maybe we'll hedge our bets and we'll go a little different direction. And I always liked the rockets too and stuff. So I was like, I like that a little more.
It seems a little more elusive than going to the moon. It's going to the Marianas Trench.
Surprisingly, yeah. More people have been to the moon. So
that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's you got it. It's not like a firefighter where it's focus and you'll be a firefighter. It's ooh, this might not be.
Yeah, it's right place, right time. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, it would be really cool to have a RC submarine. I was like, that would be so fun. And we didn't have a pool or anything. So this was a whim without a thing to do with it or anything. I was like, I just want that. I want to be able to drive, and then I want to be able to go underwater and go above, because there's something really cool about the idea of going underwater and being able to come back without.
Well, that's, in a lot of ways, that's space travel. You're going to a different quote unquote dimension. We live in the oxygen dimension. You go to space, there's no oxygen, there's microgravity. Going underwater, that's a different dimension. You can move and you can basically fly. You can go from the ground to up. You can move around. It's different. It's kind of different. It feels granted, fluid, air physics, all this, but it's it's kind of like space travel. It's completely alien to us.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was just really cool. So I was like, I want to do this. And then when I was younger, we had dial-up computer. It was really slow. So I was like, let's look up this stuff. So RC submarines, little quick history on them. They're not very new. They've been around a long time. The classic way to build them is you use like a model kit, like a Revel plastic model kit or something, like in a large scale, and you modify it and you build your own parts to put in it, called a watertight cylinder where all the electronics and the good stuff goes. And then you control it and you drive it around. And it's mostly custom. And it's expensive because all of the parts that aren't custom, it's like a guy in his garage who has a little lathe and he's turning them out and he's building them, and then this bigger store is selling them. So like, for reference, when I originally wanted to build a submarine was $2,000.
Yeah, you gotta like mail in like a money order to like some guy in Toronto who gives you a custom whatever.
He gives you the pump, and then like another guy in Germany sends you the shell for it, the body.
Niche. Yeah.
So it gets like really expensive really fast. So then a couple years ago, I looked at it again a little bit. Actually, 2 years ago, I looked at it again a little bit. And I was like, what does it cost now? And now it's less. A good one is probably about $1,000. So there's a lot more parts that you can buy, but it's still very expensive. It's prohibitively expensive to buy one. And it means that not many people ever will like even see one of these, basically, because nobody has them. They're expensive. And if you get like cheaper models, you can get maybe down to about 600, but it's still super, super expensive. And I was like, I don't want to pay a boatload of money. So this is printed.
3D printed?
This is everything I'm holding here, with the exception of that bubble on the front, is 3D printed. And of course the electric motor on the back. This is 7 pounds. So it holds a lot of air.
Again, for anybody listening, what are the dimensions of that thing? This isn't like a pool torpedo.
No. This is like it's about 2 feet long. I think top to bottom, because when I was building it, I was very familiar with the dimensions, because like that was a problem over and over again. I think it's about 10 inches from the bottom to the conning tower, and you maybe got like a little 2-inch antenna on the top. But the antenna up here is fake. It's all for looks.
It's a thick boy. Hold it up. Hold it up. Let me get a good screenshot of it for the thumbnail.
So I'll turn you the James Cameron part on the front there.
Perfect.
But
got it.
So this thing, it was like born of a desire to build something cheap. Well, and it was fueled by 2 things. One, I got the game Subnautica.
Oh, Jesus. It's like, I've watched that on YouTube, but I can't watch it. I have submechanophobia. Dude, it gives me the willies.
Really? Oh, man. But like, I when I first played it, I was like really slow. I was like, I am dying out here, man.
Fuck that game.
Because like, when I first started playing it, and when I was like, man, I want to play this, like I actually couldn't swim. Like I'd never learned to swim or anything. And the year before last year, I ended up like actually learning like over the course of the year. Yeah. So that was like great. Yeah. My fiance, soon to be, she bless her heart, she was so patient with me. She taught me, because she used to be on like swim team and everything. So we learned and everything together, basically. And she was like, it was a lot of trying basically to get there. But
hey, I'm 31 this summer and I still can't tie a tie. And I went to private.
That's universal.
I went to private school.
Universal.
I went to private school for 12 years. It's not acceptable.
I don't know, man. I still got to look up a YouTube video and confirm, because I'm always like, what's that one in the middle?
Dude, I had a cab driver tie my tie in 2013 before I went into an interview at a med school in Los Angeles. Literally was like, sir, he's like, see? I was like, senor, I was like, can you please give me an extra $20? And he was like, he's like,
you're going to do well.
You want to go be a doctor? And I was like, yeah, I got the good grades. He's like, no tie? And I was like, no tie. I can't tie a tie. I think he looked at me like, you shouldn't be a doctor. But it's, well, to interject because I'm a rude interrupting asshole.
No, you're fine.
About trying something new, doing something new. Again, like the way I get so many guests is I'll listen to more audiobooks than anyone I know. I probably listen to about 2.5, 3 a week. I burn 10 hours a day, dude. As soon as I'm finished with the podcast, I put in headphones and I just start playing. When I play video games, that's how I'll listen for 6 hours, because I'm playing Just Cause or Grand Theft Auto, but I'm learning about X, Y, and Z. But I'll find that sometimes I just need to completely change it up. Like my comfortable area, my like comfort zone, which I would imagine for you is rockets, is like Cold War history and Grand Theft Auto. Those two combined. It's like a map I know, it's a storyline I know, and I'm listening to, like, I know exactly what I want to learn. I want to learn about, like, the Trident missile system, or I want to learn about whatever. When I find that I'm getting a little, like you said, I can fix it and put it back up and when I feel like I'm kind of dragging ass, but I don't necessarily want to be like, I want to take a break from it all. Yeah. And I just want to change everything up. I'll just completely flip it upside down. So, like, right now, I'm listening to a book on the history of ExxonMobil, and I'm playing, I think, Mafia. I don't even know what it is. I'm in, like, 1920 Chicago trying to figure out this game. And it's not at all nearly as intelligent as yours, building rockets and building submarines. But to me, like, I'd still identify with that. When I feel like there's just gunk in the machinery, I'm just like, what do I know nothing about? The history of ExxonMobil. I'm like, fuck it, 30-hour audiobook, throw it on. What do I never do? I never play, I'm in a trench coat with a Tommy gun in 1920 Chicago. Throw it on. And there's this weird vertical learning curve. But man, if you, and this is what I wanted to ask, is when I'm doing all these things, I start to find patterns in these that are applicable to the things I'm taking a break from, and I come back to those stronger. Do you find that? Do you do submarines, and then you come back and you're like, I've got it now? So the James Cameron here, which like the actual model of submarine from the game is a Cyclops, is what is like the in-game name. So this is a Cyclops submarine and everything. So I was like kind of burnt out on it, but like this made me like I totaled up the parts list for it, like I was saying, where I was like, can we do this cheap? And I was like, it's not that bad. And then I just like I bought a couple things for it, and I was like, I'm gonna just get my toes wet. And by the time I decided to get my toes wet, I had like built a 3D model of it in the computer, because that cost me no money. Yeah, I can just do that. So I was like, and it, steadily, you do a little bit on it each day or whatever. I would work on it, like around dinner time, like right before dinner time, because there would be I would start my workday earlier than everyone else in my household, basically the other two, and we would work, and then I would have a little extra time, and I'd work on the sub, and I'd do a little more, and then eventually I got it to a point where I was like, I could do this, I could make this, and I started like, all right, we're going to buy some stuff, we're going to put it together and all. And I finally got to the point where I sent off the order to a friend of mine to print it, like to fire up the 3D printer and just burn filament. I mean, this is a lot of filament to make. That's why it's so heavy. Tank. She's a thick one right here. Boy, but like, in the process, like I got it back, and I was like, I have an idea, because like I talked to people on like 3D printing, and 3D. This is not an ideal application for 3D printing. I should preface it with that. Okay. So 3D printing, it's all layers and it leaks like a sieve. So this is not what you would want. Luckily, it's called a wet hull. So there's just holes in this you can see up and down it, and those let the water in. So inside here is flooded. Okay. The only section, if I reach over here, the only section that's not flooded is this cylinder that goes on the inside. Okay. Yeah. And then inside this is a little pump, and the pump sucks in water, and it gets heavier, and it sinks.
So it's really simple. And it was the thing that I was like, I'm gonna try this. We're gonna try. And like, I bought a pump, I bought a syringe, I bought the cylinder tube, and that was it. And it worked. And I was like, okay, we can go a little further. Yeah. And I started posting my progress online, and it just like, it felt more like from the heart, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm not building this for like an algorithm or like even for the YouTube channel. I was like, I'm building this because I have always
wanted a submarine.
A
submarine. Since you were little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love the video game. And I was like, I had played it like a year before at the time. And then I stopped, and my save file got corrupted. So I had restarted during that time, and I started playing again. And I was like, I want to do it. I want to open the CAD model and work on it. And I started like making progress. And I was like, this is for me. This is like, I love this, and I want to make it happen. And as I went, I started learning, new processes on it. So you learn like, when you step out of that comfort zone, you find new information from outside that you might not have realized is applicable to other things in your life. So like the sealing of the hull to make it not leak is a resin coating over everything. And it's like a 24-hour to cure, like
epoxy.
5-minute to 20-minute epoxy, basically, where you paint it on with like a sponge brush. I mean, you toss the sponge brush, but you have a nice, glistening, shiny part.
And you can't mess it up. Yeah, you can't mess it. We did that with a bar in college, a bar in our house. We did it drunk.
Yeah.
We went too slow. And so it just like solidified as like a puddle. But yeah, it's, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So like, like you just paint it on, but like, as I was doing it, I had an occurrence like that where I was like, I need to go faster, like on some of the bigger parts. So like, it's not perfect. There's little defects in it and stuff. But I was like, I like the tactileness. Software is very impersonal. It's like, it's not as noticeable. Like you make a change, you have to upload it. The upload, goes to it, and, maybe it fixes it, maybe it doesn't. There's an issue, and you're stuck on that issue for hours and hours. But like being stuck on the software, like when I had this, I was just like, if I have an imperfection, a blemish in the epoxy coat, I can just remove it. Yeah. I just sand it, and I buff it out, and it goes away, and I can see my progress. And it like, I don't know, it felt so good to just like go from like feeling like I wasn't making any progress to all of a sudden like I am making progress every day. And like there was a period where I was going too fast, where I had to basically be told, you need to slow down a little bit, because like I would go out on my lunch break and I would like scarf down a sandwich, and then I would go and sand. Yeah. And I would be out there, we're going to sand the fins down today, and I'm going to knock that out. And then like maybe the lunch break becomes a little longer, and then I work a little longer, or I'm like, I'm going to work long today so that Friday I don't have to work, so that I can sand.
But it's also that like beginning, sorry to interrupt you. It's that beginning obsession. Like when sometimes I'll get into it where I'm like, we're doing 2 podcasts a day, and I'll do 2 a day for like 2 weeks. And then I'm like, we're in this for the long haul. I'll be like, slow it down, put out 5 this week, take a day
It'll
off.
Be there.
It'll be there. Keep adding them. Don't burn out.
Yeah. And like, I'm glad I did that, because I didn't burn out, and I proceeded. And it was like, kind of, you hit milestones where it's like, okay, I coated everything. And then it's like, I sanded everything. And it's like, you get the first primer and everything, and the process of like prime sand was like, again, it's very tactile. So I see my progress. I feel it. Like there's a texture associated with making that step-by-step movement, and then like getting the electronics and everything to work. They're not very complicated. They're not software heavy. The one part that did have software was like a huge pain, and I hated it. But eventually, like, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I got a built cylinder and I got a half painted submarine where it was like gray primer, and then you put it in the water. And I just remember being like, yeah, the radio for the control was donated.
Okay.
And somebody saw my progress on Twitter and was like, I like your project. I know you said you need one of these radios because it's like a vintage controller, you know, from like the 80s that they used to fly model airplanes with. And the newer stuff doesn't get underwater very well because it's high frequency. Like if you ever try to use your phone's Wi-Fi underwater, it doesn't work.
You need, right? Isn't that what submarines use in case of nuclear war? They use ELF.
Yeah,
they have those
extreme low frequency. They have those. So that's even more.
Yeah, that's for like nuclear Armageddon. There's a transmitter up in Maine, I think, and it's like the size of like 2 football. And then there's the Duga transmitter, which recently became popular in the new Cold War Call of Duty. It's that one by But no. Point is
yeah, exactly. But like that's legitimate. Water is just, it's like someone has described it as running in peanut butter, basically, like versus air. So like it slows down the signal. So you got to get this older stuff and this older tech basically to get through. Or you can buy newer ones that are more expensive. But if you can find it at a thrift shop, you know, it's whatever. So I paid the guy shipping and he gave it to me.
Okay.
So that was like immediately big check off, basically, of like what would be a multi-$100 thing to buy new. And I was like, oh man, we're actually doing this. And the first time I put the cylinder in the water and I was like, I don't have a sub to put it in, so I can't drive it, but I can make it go up and down. And I duct taped a bunch of hammers and screwdrivers and heavy objects to it for weight because it floated. And this is supposed to weigh it down. I actuated the ballast and it sucked in the water and it went underwater. And I was like, oh my God, it's a reality. This works.
Real. Yeah.
It's real. And it became like full throttle at that point. Like this became yellow very quickly.
Hell yeah.
It got sanded. I masked it off. I did the painting and everything. And I just remember like I plugged it all in, put the motor on the back, and bathtubs filled up and everything. And I'm like, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be like my childhood moment.
Yeah.
And the submarine, like I was like speeding so fast. I didn't even have the reverse setting on the motor. It only had forward because the tuner.
So symbolic.
I know. It was only forward. Like we're going. The tuner to program the speed controller that makes it able to go in reverse. It literally hadn't come in the mail yet. And it was supposed to come like the next week or something.
Fire it up.
Yeah. I was like, we're doing this.
Some Tony Stark shit.
And, I put it in the bathtub, and I put it at the back of the bathtub, obviously. And it drove to the front of the bathtub. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And like the rudder and all would move. And then, I had to like do some tuning. It's called like trimming, where you like put some weights on it and stuff. And that whole process was, it's all very tactile. So I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen. And then you hit the button and
goes down.
It dives. And I just remember it because I had my GoPro in the water with it to record it, like potentially diving. And it was this, like when I rewatched the GoPro video, I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And like everyone was so over me at that point because I was like,
"Rob, are you watching porn?" You're like watching your
no. It was more like come in here, look at this.
Hey,
she's like,
Rob, it's 3 a.m. on Christmas, and you're like, it's here.
She's like, okay, 1 minute, and I was like, watch, and it like goes under the water, and it's just like this. Boom, 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 boom. Like of hitting the bottom, and she was like, "Oh wow, nice!" And I was like, "It's amazing!"
You're like, she comes in again. You're dressed as like a sailor. You have like a sailor hat on.
Yeah. Oh my God. On Discord, everyone called me Captain Cook.
I was gonna say,
that.
We start dressing like Nemo from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh my God! But it was so great. No, I just remember like
it's that reproducible. It's that scientific eureka. It's a reproducible thing.
Yeah, and it proves that it's a submarine.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what does a submarine do? It goes
down and it comes back up. She's like, Rob.
Yeah, and it would come back up, and I'd be like,
Rob, it's 4 a.m. My parents are coming in town. You're like, we all live in a yellow submarine.
We're doing
it.
Like eventually, I was like, a little bit after that, you know, it was done. Mm-hmm. I took it to the pool. I drove it around the pool. I had the GoPro on a selfie stick under the water because I didn't want to go in after it till I had to. And you know, it drove around. I didn't have reverse gear, so it, you know, I had to like take wide circles and stuff. And as a thank you for not having reverse gear, there's actually a little spider crack right there from slamming the wall too fast. But
are you gonna? Now, are they too bulky? Are you going to try to put a webcam inside?
That's what it's for.
Okay, good.
It's a security camera dome, actually.
Good.
So Amazon. Almost every single part on this sub is buyable on Amazon.
Fuck yeah.
And my end price was $250.
Hell yeah.
And that's like... Some of it I broke and I had to buy more of. Mm-hmm. There were things I didn't have yet. And I paid for the printing from someone else, which like including shipping and everything, which like if you were to have your own printer, you could build it for under $100 easily. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is like, this is great. Like, I love this. And I started like, I posted on the Subnautica subreddit, and the devs of the game were like, one guy contacted me and he was like, I designed the Cyclops in the game, and it is so cool to see one actually in the water. And I was like, this is the moment where it's you're hitting actualization. You're hitting like eighth chakra, like ascension. I know.
You're
like I was levitating.
She's gonna come in next time, and there's just gonna be, the room is gonna be light, and there's gonna be one eye in the middle of your forehead.
And we're all gonna be floating. You know? But like that was like, oh my god, I did it. You know, I built it, and eventually I put the reverse gear in. I cut down my build video for it, like explaining how it works and how it was built, because I was like, there's a lot of content here. I'm gonna my channel may be rockets, but we're doing submarines today.
We're doing submarines. Everyone else can shut up.
And I put it out there and everything. The feedback was great. It's still my top video, and it's 2 videos because I built the first cut, and it was like 45 and a half minutes or something like that. I was like, no one's going to watch that. That's way too long, you know, as like just me, like, and then you put the thing in here and you do that.
Yeah, they're just like, all right, okay. So, and let's wrap this up. And like, you okay with doing like 5 more minutes? And then we'll wrap this bitch up. We definitely need to do a part 2 sooner than later. Let's not wait another year. What I wanted to ask was, now, how are you going to marry the submarine to your rockets? Are you going to
that has been asked a lot.
Are you going to make a Typhoon class submarine with SLBMs, and are you going to be able to drive your submarine in a pool and hit targets on like a nearby field?
So somebody has already built one.
God damn it.
The Germans, and in Europe mainly, they're very big into RC submarines. Okay. Like, they are so big into RC submarines. Like, if you search the German words for RC submarine, you get like a billion results. Okay. In English, you get like a few.
Okay.
So like, I still have a few ideas for that. More than the like underwater and being a rocket, the processes. So like that epoxy coating is now inside this on parts to strengthen them, basically. So inside that engine mount is now like resined parts that are way stronger than otherwise. Anything that's thin, I can, paint it up. And overall, like I got better at making things, basically, because I stepped out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Holy shit.
So this was born. This one does not drive. It is not anywhere near as done. Okay. It's very It's a shell. It has no electronics. It has nothing. It has like a lid that comes off, but like everything I learned from the other one now goes into this guy basically, where it's like more rough and tumble. It's got like thrusters for going up and down, and then it's got like on a helicopter, it's got a yaw thruster and then a forward thruster for. So it drives a little better.
There's some poetic similarities to like Apollo astronauts or like early, or NASA astronauts, right? Like, they practice in those huge pools.
Oh yeah.
There's some beautiful symbology in like turning to submarines and in turn learning about rockets.
Yeah, and it's like it's pretty. It's similar. Like it feels like driving it. I never driven a submarine. Obviously, most people have not.
Yeah, I guess.
And I was like, I don't know what it's going to be like. And it is like you said, it's like flying. Yeah. Like what you do when you drive, and this is how I like mentally had to figure out how to, because I had to teach myself. Like when you fly an airplane, because I've got like a on the wall here is a Fokker triplane basically. It's a little RC, and like when you fly that, you like set your throttle, and then you control. With the submarine, like you would think you like go down and then you go forward, but it's a little different. You trim the ballast, so you like suck in water until you're like about to sink, but you don't want to sink because then you're fighting the sinking. So you either want to sink enough to where you're neutrally buoyant and you can just float, which is really hard to reach. But what I found works the best is you suck in enough water to where you almost sink, to where the thing is like if I poke it and it goes underwater, it'll go and then it'll come back up. But otherwise, like you put the prop on and you just go a little bit forward, and then you begin moving, and it's got these horizontal on the back, these right here, like airplane elevators. And then you begin diving, and it goes down, and then once you plane out, you're controlling like an airplane. It's just heavier, so it has this weight behind it as you're driving it.
But it's the same, it's fluid dynamics.
It's the same idea.
Yeah.
But it wants to crash up instead of down, which is really weird to get used to.
Yeah, that's a head fuck.
Yeah.
Now, do you think you can? Have you ever read Blind Man's Bluff?
I have not.
Oh, it's a book about Cold War submarines.
Oh man,
dude, that's right up your alley. It's on Audible. It's an insane book.
I'll have to look into that then.
You need to make like a deep submersible. Like you should go.
Well,
is that what that one's going to be? Or
that's what this is built to handle.
Are you going to go for just like an altitude record? Or are you going to go for a depth record?
No, I see. When you control it with the radio, you can't go so deep. So this has functionality.
But you don't control your rockets. They have like coding, right? So could you make like the same thing, like kind of obey, hey, if this happens, do this. I'm not going to be able to control you, but just make it go down to like 1,000 feet depth or some shit, or whatever submarines do, a couple hundred.
This can do about 30 feet.
So
before you start having problems.
You should go for 100.
So this conceivably can go much deeper because it uses, like, it's built out of a different material. It has thrusters, so it's less dependent on pump power. So it can use its thrusters to ascend and descend. It could also, because it's more modular, it can use a weight system. If you've seen the James Cameron documentary where he actually goes to the bottom of the sea, and it has weights that it holds on to, and then when he wants to ascend, he drops his weights, and the whole thing rises. So he's not relying on like a buoyancy driving system. Or like pumping in.
Fail safe.
So no matter what, he drops his weights and he goes.
So you don't end up on the bottom of on the sea floor.
The James Cameron, my James Cameron, it does have that where if it loses signal, it pumps its tanks dry and it tries to surface.
I was gonna say, right? That's like drones, right? They have like the return to home feature. They run out of battery, they go.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, return to home. It would just rise up.
So these boards are built to fit inside a watertight cylinder as well.
Okay.
Which the one I have for this one is a little longer, so it has a little more space. It's not based on like a sci-fi game, basically. So this is like entirely my own creative like expression, basically. Mm-hmm. But with that, it has little mounts inside of it to fit this size board. So I've like specifically designed this size, like this board, to control the rockets, to where it can also be an inertial navigation inside the sub. Mm-hmm. And with that, it can record information because it has the black box SD card data recording, so it can grab information and record it. It can run script, so like processing, and it can connect to other sensors. So it has like a bus for any future sensors I want to add. So if I want to add like a compass, because compass does work underwater, where I can drive autonomously, basically.
Jeez.
So I can just be like, get out there, man.
just throw it. Just go.
Yeah. Well, it's got a hook on the top for like a cable. So if I want to have it like on a tether or something, where if it's going to go really deep and I don't know if I'm going to get it back, it has that. It has a flat top for a reason. The use case for that was solar panel.
Oh, okay.
So the idea would be you toss it in and it just roams. Yeah. It just does its life. And then when it needs to come to the surface, it looks at how much battery it has and it goes, we're going up. And it spools up and it rises. But this one I stopped working on a little while ago, so it's still behind. I've been trying to get back into the rockets and everything, but I'm only one person.
But that's
and then work. I do want to touch on this because it would be an entire podcast.
Okay.
The thing I was saying, like, wait a bit. It'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, you're saying something in our text that was kind of cryptic, and you were like, "It's going to be good. I want to talk about it." And I was like, "Rob."
So I now work on Dream Chaser, which is reusable cargo.
Shit. I know what it is. Yeah. So Dream Chaser is pretty cool, and that's like my normal job. But this past week on Monday, I started on like a separate thing, which is cool until I have to go in and it becomes overtime. But it's an experiment on the space station called Advanced Plant Habitat. Okay. And
it's there's one on the station and there's one on the ground, and they run them like the ground would be your control, and it's a small team, so it's like 4 people, and I'm one of those 4 people basically. So the other people built it. There's a science team who they bring the experiments and all that stuff, and they actually run the experiment side. So we're running the hardware. They call us like facility because we're the facility that the plants grow in. But it's a garden essentially in space. So it's like a greenhouse. It has lighting. It has like moisture system, humidity. It can like dry out and apply humidity for moisture. Like it's like super advanced. So this past week I went from like barely knowing literally anything about it, just knowing it grows plants, to like now I'm going to be checking it basically every day to make sure the experiment's still running. And then when August rolls around, they're going to send it up to the space station and they're going to be, running this experiment for real.
That is a podcast in itself.
I know. So it's like
in itself. Let's
like what it takes to grow plants in space. It's very weird and it's very interesting. But
man, start growing some pot, man. You be able to sell that.
Everyone jokes that. Everyone jokes.
I mean, just the novelty of it, man. I bet Snoop Dogg or 2 Chainz would pay that.
Oh my god,
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the puns are endless. I mean, it goes. Yeah. Cosmic Kush. It goes forever. It's man.
It's pretty cool. So yeah, I like I said, I just started on it, so like I can talk a decent amount about it, and I do need to find out like if the experiment that they're doing now is proprietary.
Yeah,
if I could talk about it, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I don't want you to lose.
I don't think it is, I don't
want you to lose your dope job because you're running your mouth on my podcast and you come in and they're like, Rob, what is this?
Well, the habitat, like we can talk about a lot. It's been up there a while. They've grown lettuce, romaine, red cabbage. They did flowers not too long ago. So there's actually a pretty famous now picture of like a daisy that they grew, and the daisy's photographed in front of a window, and the earth, you know, the limb of the earth and everything, and the blue sky and all is there. The like habitat has been up there a while, but it's like the biggest, most expensive, I think, and most power hungry on the station experiment.
I imagine.
But it's like it's a cabinet, you know, if you imagine like growing plants in your oven.
Yeah.
Like that's about the size
yeah.
of it.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
it's pretty cool though.
I mean, that's the first step to, like, I guess, learning like regenerative, right? I mean, yeah, growing plants in space, whether it's like a generation ship or whether it's establishing a colony. Yeah, that's a huge first step. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. It's got like big like applications like here, there, everywhere, basically.
I want to see the James Cameron shoot a missile from below the surface of the water.
So we joked about how that would be done. And there's a German World War I, I think late World War I, submarine called the Sea Hound, or like Sea Hund, and it stored torpedoes underneath it, and there just happens to be like a semi-round curve here, and we talked about it. If you were going to have them, they would be underslung under it, and you would drive, and you would and drop, and you would have two. But
dude, what if you turned your submarine into a rocket and you made it like Sea Dragon? You hung it vertical.
I haven't talked about that ever. There was a discussion at one point about what it would take to build a Sea Dragon using a watertight cylinder and a rocket and sealing it and making that all happen. But that's not come to fruition, but it could.
I bet you could drive your submarine down to like the bottom of like an Olympic swimming pool then go vertical and then hit like 1,000 feet.
I don't know about that. 1,000 feet is a challenge.
Probably a lot more than I think. 100 feet.
100 feet is probably doable.
That would be insane. That would be insane. You would get 10 million views on that. You absolutely would. If you 3D printed a submarine, named the James Cameron, playing the South Park song as it went vertical, and then you went full Sea Dragon, like for all mankind. You
need to tow it, I think, with the sub. Like you would need like a separate rocket and submarine.
But even I mean,
the content writes itself. I have a few ideas that are like still in the works, basically, but it's like
you don't even need to make the content up. Just go to history.
I know exactly. There's a couple historical rockets that I'd like to tackle, which are really interesting. And I have like a couple other big project ideas that are like in their infancy, to where like I'm not quite ready to like Simba them up into the world, basically.
Keep them in the womb.
Yeah. This one is like this built, and it's still not even like I'm not even working on it at all at the moment. But like I'm trying to really up my game on a couple things, basically. So like on the Patreon, I ended up making a graphic, basically, and it's a tech tree, and it shows like how one thing leads to the next, and like you were saying, like that end game goal, and the end goal is still kind of like that's like we're gonna put that down there.
That's special access. That's top secret.
That's a long ways away too, but it's like it's a big end game type goal. But I will say that there's a couple things like in the room right now that are like key to that, and this stack unit is one of them, basically. And then there's another
I see
up there.
All right.
Right there.
Yeah, I see it.
Rocket. That's I'm trying to get high power rocket certified because originally I was, but the person who was supposed to submit my paperwork in college never did. Like the club never submitted our paperwork, and as a result, we didn't get like certified. Even though I did all the stuff, I took the test, I paid the membership, but that is going to recertify me. And I mean, I guess it's a good way to get new content anyway. Yeah. So it'll have one of these inside of it to test it in its first evolution, basically.
Fuck yeah.
So
let's wrap this bitch up.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm over on your time already.
No, dude. You're fine. You're fine. There's no actual time limit. I just find my mind starts to go foggy around 90 minutes. No, gotcha. don't take it as me booting you off. My brain just starts.
No.
The synapses stop connecting after like 90 minutes. And we're at 85, and I notice it with every guest. Doesn't matter who it is. All of a sudden, I'll find like the words aren't sticking together. I'm like having a stroke. I'm like, Rob, the rockets are submarines, and you're like, what the fuck, Tommy? Are you here? Like my eyes kind of drifting. It's, again, for everybody listening, probably for the first time ever, there's not going to be a whole lot of episodes this week. There's just a lot going on, moving out. Fuck yeah. But we'll be back at it.
It's good news.
Yeah, dude, it is good news. It's a good stressor. But, dude, I will text me the links to your YouTube channel and whatever else you want, and I'll put it in the links in the description and all that good shit. And, yeah, man, please send me the video of the submarine.
I was going to say, I'm going to send you the video, whether you ask it or not. I love it too much.
3 a.m. Tommy, do you want a matching sailor cap? Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm happy to hear it, man. I love seeing people just passionate about shit. There's too many drones in the world, and I don't mean quadcopters. I mean people with no passion. And it's
too many drones, not enough submarines.
Yeah. Don't be a drone, be a submarine, man. All gas, no brakes. It's just like your submarine. No brakes.
That's a sore subject right there.
It's wait, why? What is
all gas, no brakes?
Yeah, isn't that a YouTube channel?
The channel?
I recognize the name. Did something happen?
He's kind of deplatformed basically because
did he get Me Too'd or something?
No, the seed money that he got was from like a corporate entity, and they in the contract they took all his IP. Like they said, like we'll give you this seed money to get started, but we own your IP.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so he got super successful, and then they were like, "We don't want you anymore." But he's the show, like he's the.
He'll find a way. If he did that in the I had no idea. I just recognized the name of that. I didn't know that was a fuck. That didn't mean anything by that. It's
You should watch him. I feel you'd like him.
I've watched like 1 or 2 of his videos. I just recognize his like just like the Joe guy with the rockets. I've watched maybe 1 or 2 of his videos. I don't follow anyone super intently, but yeah, it's yeah, man. Please send me that. I'll put it in the description. I'll show everybody. I would like to watch it. And again, like I said, this week is going to be hectic, but sooner than later. I don't mean that like loosely. Like we'll follow up in a year. No, I would legitimately like to do a full on podcast about the habitat in space. I think that'd be badass.
Yeah, I actually I had talked about this to someone else, but I do want to make like a video on my channel if I can, like actually showing video of it if they'll let me. But that involves like extra hurdles to jump through and stuff. But shit. And like it's proprietary. Maybe do the people running the experiment want that talked about? It's like a lot more Mother May I. So that's like we'll see on that. But it's a very interesting subject, and I feel like who better to take a video of it than someone who's like literally I gotta go look at it, make sure it's still working every day.
yeah fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, no, legitimately. Rob, let's wrap this bitch up. I'll text you when it's up. Man. I'll text you the links. Thank you for coming on, my friend. Thank you for talking to my dumbass for an hour and a half.
No, it's all good. I like chatting with man. I'm glad you're feeling better too.
Thank you, my friend. I was sick. I was legitimately sick for like 11 days, which is insane.
Oh yeah.
It's your intellect and your motivation is inspiring, my friend, and I fully expect to see you on the news one day, arrested by U.S. Marshals for firing missiles.
A Sea Dragon.
Yeah, firing a Sea Dragon into low Earth orbit and adding space debris. And,
yes.
Maybe you'll be the first ever like arrest from the Space Force, and I would be so proud of you. I would be.
I sure my mom would be too. She'd be like, "Man, it's been a long time coming."
It's been a long. I will post your bail from Guantanamo. Rob, thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, I'll text you when it's up. Take care.
Alrighty, man.
God
I'll
bless.
send you everything.
Yep. Keep hustling, my man.
Have a good one.
You too, buddy. Peace.